Today I want to talk about the subtle signs of emotional abuse, because the most dangerous kind of harm is the kind you keep explaining away. The kind that leaves no bruises but slowly rewires how you think, how you feel, and what you believe you deserve. And if you have ever been in a relationship where you started off confident and clear and ended up anxious, confused, and always second-guessing yourself, then you already know what I mean. Emotional abuse is not always screaming and obvious cruelty. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is strategic. Sometimes it hides behind charm, humour, and excuses. And if you are watching this, there is a good chance you are not watching out of curiosity. Deep down, you might be trying to name something you have been living with for a long time. If someone repeatedly makes you feel small, ashamed, unsafe, or trapped, that is not love. That's control. Real love does not require you to shrink to be tolerated. It does not punish you for having needs, and it does not make you afraid to bring up the truth. One of the most subtle signs of emotional abuse is how quickly your reality becomes negotiable. You say, "That hurt me," and they respond like you just committed a crime. They don't ask questions. They don't care. They move straight to defense, attack, and reversal. Suddenly you are not the person expressing pain. You are the person causing a problem. They make your feelings the issue, not their behaviour. They treat your reaction as the offence. And after enough rounds of that, you start editing yourself. You start rehearsing conversations in your head. You start choosing silence over honesty, because honesty costs too much. A lot of people call this gaslighting, and sometimes it is. Gaslighting is not just disagreement. It is a pattern of denying your reality in a way that makes you doubt your mind. It sounds like, "I never said that. You are making things up. You are too sensitive. You are crazy. That did not happen. You are remembering it wrong. And if it happened, it was not that bad. And if it was that bad, it is your fault." Do you hear the trap? No matter what you say, you lose. And the point is not to arrive at the truth. The point is to exhaust you until you give up. People who want connection will talk about what happened. People who want control will argue about whether you're allowed to feel what you feel. So the question is that when you bring up something that hurt you, do you leave the conversation with more clarity or more self-doubt? Do you feel understood, or do you feel like you just got put on trial? Because a healthy relationship does not turn your pain into a courtroom. Another sign is the shifting of goalposts. You try to do better, you try to communicate better, you try to stay calmer, or you try to choose better words. And somehow the standard keeps changing. You apologise and it's not enough. You explain and it's not enough. You improve and it's still not enough. You keep trying to become easier to love because they have taught you that love is something you earn by being less inconvenient. But let me give you a thought that cuts through the noise. If the rules only exist for you, the rules are not about respect. They're about domination. This is where emotional abuse can feel like living in a maze. You're always trying to find the right combination of words and timing so you don't trigger them. You learn their moods the way someone learns weather patterns. You scan their face, listen to their tone, or you adjust your energy before they even speak. And you call that love, loyalty, or empathy. But a lot of the time it's just fear and survival. It is your nervous system doing its best to keep you safe in a dynamic that punishes honesty. Another sign is punishment disguised as boundaries. They call it having standards, but it only shows up when you do something they do not like. They withdraw affection, go cold, disappear emotionally, or ignore you. They may give you the silent treatment, but not for an hour to cool down, but for a day, 3 days, or a week. Then when you finally crack and reach out, they act like you are needy, dramatic, clingy. They act like your desire for basic repair is proof that you are the problem. But what is really happening is conditioning. They are teaching you that conflict will cost you connection, so you learn to stop bringing things up. You learn to accept what hurts you, because the alternative is abandonment. Another sign is contempt. Contempt is not just anger. Contempt is disgust. It's eye rolls, smirks, sarcasm that cuts, or the jokes that are only funny when they are aimed at you. It is the little comments that make you feel stupid, childish, dramatic, or irrational. And the reason contempt is so destructive is because it attacks your sense of dignity. It makes you feel embarrassed for being human, and once your dignity is damaged, it becomes easier for them to do worse, because you start thinking, maybe I deserve it. Pay attention to this. Do they apologize in a real way, or do they mock you for being hurt? Do they try to understand, or do they try to win? Do they repair, or do they punish? Because someone who respects you does not take pleasure in your discomfort and does not need you to feel small so they can feel big. Another sign is blame shifting. They hurt you, then they explain why you made them do it. I would not have said that if you did not push me. I would not have yelled if you did not disrespect me. I would not ignore you if you didn't bring things up at the wrong time. They always have a reason, and the reason is always you. And if you are a conscientious person, you will fall for this longer than you should, because you actually believe in accountability. You think, maybe I could have handled it differently. And sure, we can all communicate better sometimes, but there is a difference between taking responsibility and being assigned responsibility for someone else's cruelty. A healthy person can say, I was wrong, but an abusive person will say, you made me wrong. So if they only feel remorse when there are consequences, they are not sorry, they are strategic. An apology without change is not repair, it is a reset button that keeps you stuck in the cycle. Now let's talk about the public-private split, because this one messes with your head. In public, they are charming, calm, and generous. People love them. They are the person everyone trusts. But in private, they are cutting, moody, explosive, or silently cruel. That contrast makes you doubt yourself because you start thinking, if everyone thinks they are great, maybe I am exaggerating. And that is exactly how this keeps going. You become isolated inside your own experience. You feel like you cannot explain it because the person other people see is not the person you live with. And when you finally try to tell someone, you may fear the response will be, are you sure? They seem so nice. That fear keeps you quiet, and silence is where abuse grows. Another sign is isolation, and it does not always look like you cannot see your friends. Sometimes it looks like guilt. Sometimes it looks like sulking when you go out. Sometimes it looks like starting a fight before an event you were excited about. Sometimes it looks like making you feel selfish for having a life. Over time, you start cancelling plans, not because you want to, but because it is easier than dealing with the fallout. And one day you look around and realise your world has gotten smaller. Not because you chose that, but because it was slowly taken from you. Then there is jealousy and possessiveness, which people romanticize all the time. But jealousy is not proof of love, it is proof of insecurity and sometimes entitlement. It shows up as constant suspicion, accusations with no evidence, checking your phone, monitoring your social media, questioning your friends or getting angry when you talk to certain people. And they will call it caring. They will call it protection. But it's surveillance. Trust is not something you demand by force. Trust is something you build by being trustworthy. A sign that a relationship is emotionally abusive is that you are not allowed to have a separate self. Your independence is treated like a threat. Your boundaries are treated like betrayal. Your privacy is treated like guilt. And you start living as if you are being watched, even when you are alone. So ask yourself this: do you feel free or do you feel managed? Now I want to talk about something many people miss: the pattern of escalation and reset. They explode, then act like nothing happened. They say terrible things, then the next day they are normal, even sweet. And if you bring up what happened, they accuse you of living in the past. They accuse you of ruining the mood. They accuse you of being unable to move on. But that's not maturity. That's avoidance and a refusal to repair. And repair is not optional in a healthy relationship. Without repair, conflict becomes trauma. Without repair, your body never learns that it is safe again. You stay braced, vigilant, and tired. This is also where trauma bonds form. When affection and harm are tangled together, the relief after the harm feels like love. The kindness after the cruelty feels intense, and you start chasing the good moments like they are proof that the relationship is real. You start thinking, if I can just get back to that version of them, everything will be okay. But intermittent kindness is not the same as consistent respect. Anyone can be nice sometimes. Abuse is not defined by the good days. Abuse is defined by the pattern that keeps returning. Another sign is how conflict is handled. In a healthy relationship, conflict can be uncomfortable, but it stays human. In an abusive dynamic, conflict becomes intimidation. They raise their voice to dominate. They get close to you physically, block doorways, slam things, or punch walls. They may use their presence like a weapon, or they go the other direction. They become cold and withholding, and make you feel like you are invisible. Either way, the message is the same. Your needs will cost you, and your truth will be punished. And if you have ever felt afraid to say a simple sentence like, "That hurt me," then you already know that something is wrong. Let's talk about character attacks, because they are often framed as honesty. They say, "I'm just telling the truth, you just cannot handle criticism." But criticism is about behavior. Character attacks are about identity. If they say words such as, "You are selfish," "You are crazy," "You are stupid," "You are pathetic," "You are worthless," those words are not communication. They are degradation. And once degradation becomes normal, it becomes easier to accept more harm, because your self-respect has been slowly dismantled. And here is another sign that will sound familiar to a lot of people. You start apologizing for things you did not do. You apologize for their mood, for bringing things up, for crying, or for having needs. You apologize just to end the tension. And at first you tell yourself you are being the bigger person. You tell yourself you are keeping the peace. But peace that requires your self-erasure is not peace. It is compliance. Sometimes emotional abuse hides behind therapy language. They call you toxic for reacting to mistreatment. They call you manipulative for asking for clarity. They call you insecure for wanting consistency. They accuse you of being abusive when you finally yell back after months of being provoked. This is where a lot of people lose themselves, because the abuser can sound calm while saying cruel things, and the victim can sound emotional while trying to defend themselves. And outsiders can mistake calm for truth. But calm is not always safety, and emotion is not always instability. Sometimes emotion is a normal human response to being pushed past your limit. Ask yourself something very direct. Are you allowed to be hurt without being punished for it? Are you allowed to say no without being retaliated against? Are you allowed to set a boundary without being mocked, guilted, or threatened with abandonment? If the answer is no, then you are not dealing with normal relationship difficulty. You are likely dealing with emotional abuse. Not every harmful person is intentionally evil, but harm is harm. If you bring something up calmly and clearly, and their response is to invalidate you, minimize you, blame you, or punish you, then it does not matter what they claim their intentions are. Intent does not erase impact. And if they consistently refuse to take accountability, that tells you everything, because a person who genuinely loves you will care that they hurt you. They will not argue you out of your pain. The right person does not need you to be smaller, quieter, or less complicated to be loved. The right person wants the real you, not the easy version of you. So what do you do with this information? First, stop minimizing what your body already knows. If you feel tense around them, if your stomach drops when they walk in, if you feel relief when they leave, if you feel dread before you speak, those are not random feelings. That is data. Your nervous system keeps receipts even when your mind tries to rationalize. Second, look for patterns, not promises. Abusive dynamics are full of promises. I will change. I did not mean it. It will not happen again. But then it happens again and again. And after every cycle, you become more tired and more uncertain. Don't build your life on potential. Build your life on evidence. Third, understand that you cannot heal in the same environment that is harming you. If you are constantly trying to become better so they will treat you with basic respect, you are already in the wrong frame. You cannot perform your way into being treated well. Respect is not a reward, it's a baseline. If you're in a situation that feels unsafe, especially if there is intimidation, threats, stalking, or anything that makes you fear escalation, your priority is safety, not confrontation. You don't owe a perfect explanation to someone who has proven they misuse your vulnerability. Talk to someone you trust, get support. Reach out to professional resources in your country if you need help making a plan. You're not dramatic for taking your safety seriously, and you are not overreacting for wanting peace. Now, for the person who is listening and still defending them in your head, I get it. You remember the good version of them. You remember the beginning. You remember how seen you felt. You remember the chemistry. You remember the moments that felt real. And it hurts to hold the truth that someone can love bomb you and still harm you. But here is the hard truth that sets people free. The version of them you miss is not a plan. It is a memory. And you cannot build a stable life with someone based on who they are when they feel like it. If nothing changed, if this stayed exactly like this for the next 5 years, would you be okay? Not hopeful, not coping, not surviving, but actually okay. Because sometimes the clearest answer is not whether they are technically abusive by some definition. Sometimes the clearest answer is, do I feel safe, respected and free to be myself? And if you're realizing you do not, I want you to hear one last thought, and I want it to stay with you after the video ends. You're not too sensitive. You're not too much. You're not crazy for wanting consistency. You're not asking for perfection. You're asking for basic human care. And anyone who makes you feel ashamed for asking for basic respect is telling you exactly who they are. You deserve a relationship where your feelings are not treated like an inconvenience. You deserve a relationship where conflict leads to understanding, not punishment. You deserve a relationship where apologies come with change, not excuses. You deserve a relationship where love is not a roller coaster, but a steady place to rest. And if you have been living in a dynamic that teaches you to doubt yourself, then this is your reminder. The fact that you are questioning yourself so much might be the biggest sign that something has been wrong for a long time. Take what resonates. Leave what does not. But do not ignore what your mind and body have been trying to tell you, because your peace matters. Your dignity matters. And the moment you stop bargaining with disrespect is the moment your life starts opening again.